Hey there, I'm Lance and I'm a gamer.
And I'm Sam and I'm a non-gamer.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help gamers find great games to play with non-gamers.
And today we're going to do our top 10 games of 2023.
Can you believe that it's already the end of the year?
No.
We have played a lot of games this year, as we have every year since we started Love to Hate. This is our
Going into our fourth
year, so this is our third list to do.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, this was maybe the hardest list to put together, just because there's been a lot of really good games. We've played a lot of games. There's been a lot of okay games.
Yeah.
There's just been a lot of everything.
Yeah.
And there was a lot to consider when putting together this list. If you haven't discovered the website pubmeeple.com, you need to go and check that out, because that's what we use to help us rank out. Yeah, and it's a hard thing to do, because it will ask you, do you like this game or do you like this game? And you have to decide right there on the fly.
Yeah.
And you know, that's a hard thing to do, but that's what we use to kind of help us rank out our top 10 games, as well as some honorable mentions. And so we're going to go ahead and get right into it with those honorable mentions and share what almost made our list.
Honorable mentions.
All right, so I'm gonna just name off 4 of my honorable mentions.
We haven't seen each other's list, by the way.
Right, exactly, yeah. I don't know what's on her list. I have a pretty good idea, just because I play most of these games with her.
And I don't play any games with her.
So we have a good idea of what's going to be on each other's list. But my honorable mentions, I got 4 of them here. I'm just going to rapid fire shoot them off, say a little bit about each one. The Fox Experiment from Pandasaurus Games. If you've watched any of our videos, if you followed along with us, you'll know that for the last 2 Gen Cons, I have taught the Fox Experiment for Pandasaurus Games in their events room there at Gen Con. And so I'm very, very familiar with the Fox Experiment. I know it like the back of my hand. And I really, really like it. The only reason why maybe it's not higher on my list is I'm not 100% sure that it's a love to hate type of game. A game that you would play with casual gamers, non-gamers, such as Sam. That's maybe a tad bit too heavy and maybe teetering on medium weight, although I don't know that it's fully medium weight. So that's the reason why it's an honorable mention. Another honorable mention, Pyramido from Synapsesgames. That's one that we did not too long ago. Tile laying game, really enjoy it. Rome in a Day is a I split, you choose type of game in which again, it's tile laying. You're trying to build a city. That's from Alley Cat Games. Really enjoyed it. And then lastly, Disney Animated from Funko Games. It's right there behind Sam's head. When we when we reviewed that one, I really enjoyed it. Thought it might be my favorite cooperative game of the year. Unfortunately, I found 2 other games since that I like a little bit more cooperatively anyway, that are going to be on my list. And so that's the reason why it is an honorable mention. But it's still a very good game. So Sam, do you have some honorable mentions?
I think Lance is going to hate my honorable mentions, because I think most of them are on his top 10.
Probably.
I also have Pyramido on my top, or on my honorable mentions. It was close, but
yeah,
just didn't quite make it. Sky Team was an honorable mention.
Might as well just stop this video.
I think it was hard for me this year, because I think after 3 years of playing games the way we do, Lance very much knows the type of games I like. So we're playing more of those.
Yeah.
We're playing, and I'm figuring out what I like more, and seeing more games. I'm going to conventions now and stupid stuff like that. So I know.
We did get back from PAX, and you had a really good time at PAX.
I did. So I'm seeing games out there, and I'm saying, hey, let's try this. So what I'm trying to say is there's just a lot more on my list because of that. And so while Sky Team was a really fun game, a great cooperative game, there was just a lot more games that just geared more towards my type of playing. So the other one, we actually just played this one, and it probably might have been higher if we hadn't already kind of started making our list a little bit.
Okay.
But Tesseract. honorable mention. It was a great game. I don't think I've played it enough to make it to my top 10 yet.
Spoiler alert, I just did mention there are 2 other cooperative games that are going to be on my list. I wonder what those 2 could be.
I don't think...
Do you not have any cooperative games? Wow. Okay.
I want to win.
All right.
I don't want to play.
No, I get that. I'm more gravitate towards competitive games than I do cooperative games. But I actually have some on my list this year. So yeah.
And my last honorable mention is Bonsai.
Yeah, Bonsai was gonna be, I guess, number 15 for me.
Yeah.
Because I have got 14 on my list.
I don't know why we stopped at 14.
Yeah, I don't know
It
either.
seemed like too many honorable mentions.
Yeah, but no, I really like Bonsai too.
But again, we just got the chance to play it once at PAX. We don't have it here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
you know.
Nearly bought it for Christmas.
Yeah.
DV Games, I think, is who makes it. It's a tile laying, drafting kind of game.
Definitely a game I would play again.
Yeah, it's really interesting, really cool there.
Okay.
Number 10.
All right, number 10. This is the first entry on our top 10 list. Sam, why don't you start since I started with honorable mentions? What's your number 10 game of 2023?
My number 10 game of 2023 is Gartenbach.
Gartenbach.
By 25th Century Games. I thought it was a great game. I love the artwork on it. It was enjoyable. It's something that we played. I think this is my oldest game on the list as far as like.
Right. We reviewed this one at the beginning of the year, and technically, I think you might consider this to be a 2022 game, but it came out so late in the year that I think a lot of people probably didn't play it until the beginning of 2023. So I'm okay with it being a 2023 game.
Yeah, and so kind of how I at least kind of remember the games that I played is I go through our YouTube videos, I go through and see what I ranked them, and this is one that when I saw it again, I was like, I remember really enjoying playing that game, and so that is why it's my number 10.
No, it's a really good game. There's a lot of clever aspects about it.
Yeah.
Love the look of it. Yeah, for sure. Really good game. All right, my number 10 game is also a little wonky, I suppose. You know, Sam's being a 2022 game, technically. Mine is a remake of an older game, a game called Rondo, which you may or may not have heard of. But the game is Sunrise Lane from Horrible Guild, which is a 2023 game. I got that part down, but like I said, it's a remake of an older game that has got a little few differences from the original Rondo. So there is enough to make it a different game. But this is a game that's kind of like Ticket to Ride, that you're trying to grab certain spots on the board before other people get to them, and you're using cards to be able to do that. You need so many cards to be able to play here, you need so many cards to be able to play there. So that's a little bit like Ticket to Ride, but there's a bit of an area control aspect to it and networking, just like Ticket to Ride. There's a lot about the game that is great fun for entry-level playing. We own a copy of it. We just haven't been able to get a video out on this game. It's a really solid game, and it's one that I don't think a lot of people have probably heard of, because Horrible Guild is they're probably more well known in other places, but here in the States, they're maybe lesser known. But they make some really good games. They made a game last year that made my top 10 list, Evergreen, and Sunrise Lane, I think, is a really good game as well. So definitely one that you need to check out there.
Number 9.
All right, number 9. My number 9 game for 2023 is In the Footsteps of Darwin. Now, this is from Sorry We Are French. And this is a game that when I initially saw it, when we got to review it, I thought, whoa, this looks like it's going to be a little heavy. We're talking about Darwin here. And I mentioned in that video that it may get, confused with Darwin's Journey, another heavy game that came out right around the same time this year with a similar theme. And that's where the similarities end, is the theme and the artwork, because this is not a heavy game. This is a lightweight game that you are drafting and tiling onto your board, trying to place things in right spots to get you maximizing points. I guess a little action selection maybe with what you draft out of that too. But I thought that the mechanics really blended well nicely. For me as a gamer, it provided enough crunchiness to make me want to be intrigued the entire time, but I don't think at any point that it was ever so crunchy that it was too much for the casual people I game with. Because I played this with not just Sam, but I played this with other people too who would be casual gamers, and it seemed like everybody generally had a pretty good time with it. So that's my number 9 game, In the Footsteps of Darwin. What's your number 9?
My number 9 is Severnake Forest by DeVere Games.
Okay, Severnake Forest,
Yes.
the little woodland creatures, tiling, drafting kind of game. What'd you like about it?
Well, tiling and drafting,
Sure.
big fan. And I just thought it was just a unique take on tile laying games, because a lot of times it's very much like this is your area, which it did have parameters, but just how you're laying them and how you're feeding your animals and things like that. It was just, it sticks out in my mind as fun and enjoyable. I think we both enjoyed that game a lot.
Well, you might see it again here in a little bit.
Yeah. And you're going to see a lot of tile laying games.
Well, yeah, too. Yeah.
Number 8.
All right, number 8. What's your number 8 game?
My number 8 game is Junk Drawer by 25th Century Games and Winsmith Games.
Yep.
And that game is it's just like my dream game. I'm organizing. I have 4 different types of drawers that I'm organizing with tiles or with polyominoes. Just super enjoyable for me. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, Junk Drawer to me, I didn't say this in that review video that we did on it, but now that we've played it and now that we've also played My Island, My City, My Island, I feel like those are kind of so similar, they go hand in hand. It's like playing that game times 4, because everybody's got the same little polyominoes. You got a stack of cards that you flip over, and you got to choose where you're placing it, and that's the one time that you're using that polyomino. You're not going to get it back ever again.
And I thought that I wouldn't like that there's 4 things going on. When we first saw it, I was like, I'm not going to like that because I like to focus on one thing, but I absolutely enjoyed it.
That's the crux of the game.
Yes.
Like, if it didn't have that, it would just be another polyomino
And that's
game.
literally what I do at home. Like, I'm constantly, where does this go?
Where can I fit this in?
Yeah. So,
that was a really good game. Yeah. Junk Drawer, solid game there. My number 8 is a game you've already heard in this video, and it's my second of the 2 cooperative games that are going to be on my list, and that is Tesseract from Smirk and Dagger, or Smirk and Laughter. I'm not sure which division of their publication branding Tesseract fits into. But this is a game that we nearly didn't get to check out this year. I knew about it. I just never got around to getting a copy or trying it out until we went to PAX. And we met with Kirk of Smirk and Dagger Games, and he sent us home a copy of it.
We thought it would be too heavy for me.
We did, because I shouldn't say there's a lot of iconography, but the iconography looks like it would be a heavier game, right?
Yeah.
And it's totally not. This is not a heavy game at all. And that's the reason why you're seeing it here on my list. And it is so puzzly. And it's a fantastic cooperative game, because you really do have to work together with one another, seeing what's on everybody's boards, everybody's labs, I guess I should say, and figuring out efficiently how are we going to get to our goals before this cube self-destructs and we run out of time. And never once does it ever feel like the game overpowers itself, like some cooperative games do. Pandemic can sort of be like that way, where there's just too much doom and it never feels like you really had a chance to begin with, or it came on so quick that it just caught you off guard. This slowly builds, and I think we will do a review video on this at some point, so I'm going to have more thoughts about it at that time. But the game progresses so well, and I'm with Sam. If I had more time playing this, it would likely be higher on my list.
I think it probably would have ended up in my top 10, but we had just gotten back from PAX. We've only played it the one time, so I can't make a definitive choice yet.
But it's really, really good, guys. I highly recommend it. It's my number 8 game for 2023.
Number 7.
All right, number 7 for 2023. My number 7 is a tile laying game. It's one that Sam has not yet played, so she can't. I think if she had played it, it probably would make her list, because this seems like something she'd really like. And it's another one of those games where We saw it at PAX, and we didn't play it because we thought maybe it might be too complicated and too heavy. Had I taken the time to really look at it and understand what kind of game it was, it's not heavy at all. The game I'm talking about is Art Society from Mighty Boards. Now, this is perhaps the coolest front cover of a box for a board game ever made, because it is dual layered and it's these famous paintings that you'll recognize, and they're dual recessed into the box to make it look like it's 3D and it's an actual painting hanging on a wall. So really, really cool. And that's the theme of the game, is that you are hanging these paintings and other things on your wall to display.
Yeah,
and it is I don't know if it's considered polyomino because they're all rectangles. They're just different sizes of rectangles. But it's fitting things into small places and needing things to be next to other places to maximize points.
Well, no, that's not fair, because I want to play that game.
Great game. It also has a bidding aspect too, to get to bid to see who gets to go first, and you use these cards, and they're one and done use. So you got to choose wisely. Do you use your best cards now early on, or do you wait and hold on to them for later? A lot to like about that one. Art Society from Mighty Boards. I think she would really like it.
Surprised didn't play it.
What's your number 7?
My number 7 is, I think it's a little surprising, not to Lance, but I think just to people like listening to my list of games. But my number 7 is Kapow by WiseWizardGames.
Yeah.
It is a fighting, dueling superhero game.
Yeah.
But I really
dice rolling, dice chucker.
I loved how the dice worked. We compared Kapow with Marvel Dice Throne, or really just any of the Dice Throne games. And Kapow came out on top, definitely for me. I think for Lance as
me too.
well. But I just really liked, I do not typically like battle type games. It's not my thing, but how it was laid out and the dice and everything, I really enjoyed it. So it made
And I think the thing about Kapow, and really what I guess because Kapow Volume 1 came out last year, Volume 2 sort of came out this year too, so maybe that's kind of where we're heading, but it's all one and the same, really. But I think what Kapow adds that Dice Throne doesn't is the screen, because you are programming your actions behind a screen away from your opponent, and you're doing that simultaneously. So there's not this, I do something and then you react to what I did. This is, I'm doing something, and I don't know exactly what you're doing. I'm kind of thinking about what you might be doing, but I'm strategizing of what I need to do, and then obviously the other person's doing the same thing. That's what really takes the game to another level for me. So
really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, Kapow's awesome.
Number 6.
All right, number 6. What's your number 6?
My number 6 is Wanderwoods by Blue Orange Games.
Okay. All right, Wanderwoods. Now, this was a deduction kind of game that you were trying to deduce what mushrooms were going to be the most valuable to try and get.
I'm not going to lie. I think that I like this game so much because I was good at it. I won this game multiple times.
You did. You were really skilled at this for whatever reason.
So take that with a grain of salt. But it was also a lot of fun, and it was different. We don't have a whole lot of deduction games.
Well, it's a different kind of deduction game. That has a unique theme to it. It's got these mushrooms, a nature theme to it, and the components were really, really nice. To me, that's what stuck out the most with the game, is just the wooden painted components from Blue Orange that just really, they stood out on the table too. So, it's a solid game. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
My number 6 is probably a little known game that will hopefully get some more exposure now that there is an English copy of it. It's from Keeling Board Games, and we just did a review video on this not too long ago. It's Explorers of Navoria, which I guess technically is a remake of an older game called Townsfolk Wanted. But again, that was not an English version of it. This is the English version of it. And so hopefully it will get into the hands of a lot broader audience now. But this was a game that in that video that Sam and I did state several times that I felt like it might be a slight too crunchy for most casual non-gamers. But there could be a handful that are have played some games that will be all right with this kind of game, and they will love it because there is so much to like about this game. So many good decisions. You are doing some track progression. You're drafting some cards. There's action selection with the cards that you draft. You're unlocking things on your board. It might sound like there's a little bit too much going on for some gamers, and again, that's kind of where I'm like, is this a casual game or not? Yeah. But it was so good. The more I think about it, the more I like it. Really sad that I had to mail off that copy that we got to check out to another reviewer. So I'm hoping that I can snag a copy of it someday because it's such a good game. And it's one that I don't think a lot of people know about, and they should. That's Explorers of Navoria from Keeling Games. That's spelled Q-I-L-I-N-G Games.
Number 5.
All right, we're up to number 5. We're halfway done with this list already. And I think this is where we're going to start seeing more crossover here, starting at here. This is my guess anyway. I think we might have the same number 5. My number 5 is Tiger and Dragon from Oink Games. Now, again, this is kind of similar with Explorers of Navoria. Tiger and Dragon's been around, but there's not been an English copy until now, which is why it's on my list for 2023. And it's one that I had on my radar for some time, but just only recently got to check it out at PAX. And the first time we played it, hated it. Did not like it. Which, you know...
The first round.
The first round, yes. First round of the first game, did not care for it at all. Could not understand
the game.
Yeah, could not understand why anybody liked it. And then, yes, it was our own stupidity, not understanding the little intricacies of the game that makes all the difference and unwraps the strategy with that game. And ever since then, every time we've played it, it has been a fantastic game.
Yeah.
There's not much to it. It is a simple concept. Anybody can play it. Yeah. Literally anybody can play it. Which means it's going to hit the table quite a bit, and you're going to get a lot of bang for your buck with that one.
We'll be playing it on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, we're filming this New Year's Eve. We will be playing it tomorrow night on New Year's Eve with friends. So, yeah.
Our friends are like, please no.
Games. Tiger and Dragon from Oink Games. Definitely check it out. Is that your number 5?
It's not.
Oh, I thought it would be. Okay,
No.
all right.
My number 5 is Neotopia.
Oh, okay.
By Arcane Wonders. I really enjoyed when we played that game. I thought it was a unique concept as well. I feel like I said with all of them. I mean, all the games that have come out this year have just been...
It's a good game.
Yeah.
It really is. Abstract strategy.
Yeah. Which is my go-to.
Yeah, one that works real well with you. I think the unique thing with it was that everything's shared, right? Like you don't have your own little area that you're trying to make these patterns. Everything's shared, and so like I'm trying to get this pattern in before you come over here and screw it up.
Yeah. But it isn't too much of a take that game either.
No, it's not. Yeah.
So I think there's a good balance to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it has a nice speed to the game, right? Like. Even though there's not a lot of take that, there is definitely I want to use that before you get to it. I want to put it here before you put something there.
Yeah.
I want to take that card and complete that. And like, there's just a lot of, not, I guess, tension, but not like, you know, so much so that you're like constantly gripping the table.
Yeah.
But there's just a lot of nice, do I make this choice or do I make that choice because of what you think everyone else might be doing that makes that game really good. So.
Number 4.
All right, we're to number 4. What is your number 4?
Tiger and Dragon.
Oh, there it is.
My number 4. You were close. So Tiger and Dragon, Lance has already said pretty much everything about the game, but it is wonderful. I really enjoyed playing it. It's a game that we both take turns 50-50 winning it, and it's just something that we're going to keep forever and play often.
Yeah. And one that I think we can, play with our kids.
Yes.
We haven't yet played with our kids, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't definitely play with our 2 oldest.
Yeah.
And then eventually bring in our 2 youngest into as well, and it be a family kind of game.
Yeah.
And it does play all the way up to 6. It plays all the way up to 8, I think. So yeah, you can definitely play with big groups with that one. So Tiger and Dragon is a solid game. Mine is a crossover with Sam's. It's one you've already heard her say earlier on in this video, and that is Savernake Forest from Devere. Yeah, like Sam said, it's a really unique game that is not just drafting and it's not just tile laying. There's also some networking with it too, which is, I don't know that I can think of another game that's got those three sort of things built into it that is so accessible, because it's a very easy concept. You draft here, you're going to get a creature. If you draft here, you're going to get, more food. And if you draft here, you're going to go first. If you draft there, you're probably going to go last. If you draft somewhere in the middle, you're getting other things that kind of beefs up some of the other stuff you've gotten in previous rounds. So there's a lot of good choices, not just in the drafting of what tile or card you're going to get to use to lay down into your area, but what else little benefit that you get to go with it, that really makes it feel like a crunchier, heavier game than what it actually is. Yeah. Very much enjoyed it. Loved the artwork to it as well. And it's such a small, little portable game. Packs a big game feel into a little tiny box. It's one of the better games Devere has made this year, I feel like. And that is saying a lot, because they have made really, really good games this year. You definitely need to be on the lookout for Devere. They make some awesome games.
Number 3!
All right, number 3. We are in the top 3 of 2023. Number 3 for me is a game that I know is going to be on Sam's list. It could be number 3, I'm not sure. And that is World Wonders. It is from ArcaneWonders. And this is a polyomino game that, to me, trumped all the other polyomino games of the year. And the biggest reason for that is because, and I know it's going to sound a little gimmicky, but the wonders, the wooden little pieces that represent the wonders are just too cool to not give big kudos to. And not only is it that they're cool looking, and it's not just that it's a gimmick, it does add some gameplay value in the fact that they're different sizes. Some come in multiple pieces and need to be placed in different arrangements, and every single one of them need to be adjacent to other types of things that requires you to get to that point to be able to build. It's not like you can just say, I want that, I want the Great Wall of China. No, you've got to have done other things to get to that point to be able to get it. And you're racing to be the person who gets it before somebody else does. And there's so many other things too about the money and the way its scoring works in that game, track progression. It is a fantastic game, and it looks fantastic on the table. It's
probably going to end up being one of our top 10 of all time.
Yeah, because, and we said this in that video, ArcaneWonders, they came out with Foundations of Rome last year, which was also on our 2022 list of top 10 games. And we talked about the table presence with that game. This is another entry into really cool table presence games.
I'd love to play those games like back to back.
I know, because they just have that wow factor, and they're really fun, and they're great for entry level type gaming to take place with people who don't play a lot of these big heavy games that you see behind us. So World Wonders is great, for that type of crowd that we're talking about here. Perfect game for that. Is that your number 3?
No, it isn't.
Oh my gosh, I thought I knew your list.
I know. My number 3 is Fit to Print.
Oh yeah, okay.
By Flat Out Games.
Yeah.
It's probably some people are like, how is it that high on the list? But
no, it's a good game.
It's a tile laying, drafting game, but very unique in that you're blindly drafting.
Yes.
And then you're using what you have, and you have to guess. You draft everything at the beginning, and you have to guess what's going to fit on your page, and you get penalized for the ones you have left over. So it is a very mental game.
You get penalized if you have too much open space on your board too. So there's definitely this spatial element of needing to.
Yes, and they're all different sizes, and you're making a newspaper print, and you have to have a certain number of pictures next to this, next to that, and it's just so much fun. And a really well-developed game, I think.
It's very immersive because, I don't have any experience of what it's like to be a newspaper editor, but I feel like that game might be kind of like that because you got to make these decisions, and it's a real-time game, right? Like simultaneous. The game says play it 5-minute rounds. You can do more, you can do less than that. But it's real time, and so you're rushing and you're thinking, okay, do I need this? Where am I going to put it? I got to put it here next to that, but then that screws that up, and then like there's a lot of those kind of thoughts going on, and everybody there's so much hooping and hollering at the table as you're playing that. Fit to Print was a really, really good game. It would be in my top 20. Yeah. It's a solid game.
It definitely makes sense for me.
Great game. Flat Out Games, they've been making some really good games as well, and I think Fit to Print was one of their better ones. Yeah.
Number 2!
All right, number 2.
My number 2 is World Wonders.
Well, there you go.
You're one off.
I'm one off every time.
Yeah, but just like Lance said, it's such an enjoyable game. It's putting together this town, but it's not just a normal town. It has all these really cool miniatures and the layout of it and the development of it, and it's just a wonderful, pretty game to play and a lot of fun. Can't speak enough about it. The only reason why it's not higher on my list is because I really, 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 really like the 2 that are ahead of it on my list. Yeah. Otherwise, any other year, it would probably be a number 1 game. Yeah. It's just, a great, fantastic polyomino game that if you like polyomino games, you're absolutely going to like World Wonders. Yeah. So. All right, my number 2 is a game that Sam had in her honorable mentions for some awful reason. It should be. It's a great game.
It should be way up there. I guess I shouldn't say that too much because I didn't have Fit to Print on my.
Yeah. I'm not giving you crap.
But that is Sky Team, and it is.
Maybe you just talked about it so much that I got tired of hearing about it.
That may be.
Talk about it
that may be. It is my favorite cooperative game of the year. And
of all time.
I don't know. Maybe. I'd have to think about that some more. I played Marvel United a ton. And that might be, but I don't know. Sky Team is, what I love about Sky Team is how thematic it is. That they've really thought about, well, how can we take these elements of being a pilot and flying this plane and make it into a board game mechanic and make it be a challenging, interesting decision that players have to do and work through. And I think they did it flawlessly. The only wonkiness to the game is the fact that we can't talk to each other, which doesn't make sense with the theme because, pilot and co-pilot should definitely be able to talk to each other. But you get out around that, and everything else about the game, in my opinion, is pretty close to flawless. There's been so many times that I've played that game that I have had high emotions, low emotions, and I love that in my board gaming. That what I mean by that is I have the high of, oh yeah, we've got this, we're gonna nail it right here, and then immediately follows up with, how did we not see that? Yeah. What happened, right? And it's and the other thing about it too is you walk away from it thinking, we should have saw that, we should have planned for that. Why didn't we? And it's not like the game cheated us. It's like, man, we're so dumb, we didn't see that. I want to go back at it again. I want to make sure to not make that same mistake. And then lo and behold, we make a different mistake and walk away feeling the same thing. Yeah. It is a challenging game, but it is one that you can win. I have beat it. And the great thing about it is I was really worried about the replayability factor when I first tried it out at Gen Con, but it has so many different little missions and other added components that you get to unlock that adds enough spiciness to the game that shakes it up dramatically so that you're not feeling like you're doing the same thing over and over again. Sky Team. Man, I would say it is my most thematic, immersive game of 2023. And that's saying something because some of the other games on my list are pretty thematic and immersive as well. Yeah. But I really, really like Sky Team. So it's my number 2 game and best cooperative game of 2023.
And finally, number
All right, here we are. Number 1.
And I know we said we don't look at each other's lists, and we don't, but we do happen to know that we have the same number 1.
We do, yeah.
So we should.
And even if we hadn't known that going into this, we would have known up to this point, because there's no way this game wouldn't have already been mentioned on our list without it being the number 1 game. So you're gonna hear the same game mentioned on both our lists. So we're just gonna say it at the same time.
Yes.
And that is Leaf from Weird City Games. Now, Leaf, we got to be one of the first people to present this game to the world. We got to preview it for its Kickstarter last year. And if you go back and watch that video, which you can click the eye in the top right corner for proof of what I'm about to say, I said in that video at that time that this game would absolutely make this list when this video came out. I had it beyond a doubt in my mind that that game would make this list. I didn't know that it would be number 1. I knew it would be high, but I don't know if I was ready to go hook, line, and sinker and say that it was number 1 in that video last year. But now that we're here, it is my number 1 game of the year.
It is one that we have continued to show people and play.
Yeah, it's right behind Sam, by the way.
Yes.
It's a beautiful box. We have the deluxe version, deluxe edition, and this is not a review copy that we were gifted after we did the preview. This is my copy, our copy that we paid for. Went in with the deluxe on it, and well, I mean, what do you like it? What is it? What's about it that makes it great for you?
It has the polyomino tiling feel, but it's leaves, and you really have to think about how they're fitting together, how their points are fitting together, what leaves are next to each other. But it's a very chill game.
Yeah.
Like, we've played it with our best friends, and, there's just games where everyone's like yelling and talking and everything, and this is just more of a, mellow game, but in a really, really good, enjoyable way.
Yeah, you talk about the leaf placing aspect with it. I think that my favorite factor with it is the action selection that goes along with that I'm not just trying to figure out where do I get the most actions with this leaf. And then to go a step further, I've got to figure out what type of leaf I'm taking, because that determines a lot too. And I have to have the right leaf card to get that leaf, right? Like, so there's a lot of steps involved, but it never really feels like the game is too convoluted. It's very smooth. It's intuitive, right? And then you place that leaf, and where you're placing it determines the actions you get to do and how many actions you get to work with. I just love that aspect, that design structure of going through those steps just clicks in my mind, and how you get your points through the different ways in the game. Wanting to place your mushrooms for area control, or wanting to go up the tree with your squirrel, getting the acorns, advancing the round. I mean, it is a bit of a point salad game, but everything seems to make sense. And it's such a smooth, quiet game, like you said, that it's a great game.
Yep.
I can't think of enough adjectives to kind of describe it. And then you throw on the factor that Angela Riza, the illustrator for this game, did such a fantastic job with the look of it. Weird City Games with the wooden leaf components in this one, the deluxe edition. I mean, it's beautiful. It is the best looking game of the year.
Yeah, for
in
sure.
addition to being the number 1 game on our lists. So, I mean, you can't miss this game. And I'll go ahead and say now, they have another game that's coming out next year, Canopy Evergreen, that
might end up being on the 2024 list. Weird City Games, they are knocking it out of the park. And so Tim Eisner over there, he makes really, really good games. Leaf is one of his best, I feel like. You definitely got to check it out. So it was big enough that we both said, that's got to be our number 1 game. Yeah, for sure.
So, Well, there you have it. That is our top 10 plus some honorable mentions for 2023. Leaf being the headliner there, but we did have some crossovers on some other numbers too. And so definitely check those games out. But what we absolutely want to know is what were some of the best games that you played this year, specifically for casual and non-gamers. So if you've watched only the tail portion of this video and you're like, what about, these big heavy games? What about Voidfall? What about Darwin's Journey? Well, that's not this type of video. This was for casual and non-gamers.
Sam does not play this game.
Check out the video that I'll be doing with Jeremy from Hard to Master here in a little while, and that will be a video that contains more of those types of games in that one. So, but leave us some comments down below. Let us know what you think we forgot, some games that maybe you tried out that should have been on our list, or some of the games that you've played that you agree with us on. Let us know down in the comments.
Make sure to like and subscribe and push those bell buttons so you get notifications of all our new content.
I'm Lance.
I'm Sam.
And we are Love to Hate, where we help bridge the gap between gamers and non-gamers. We'll catch you next time.